Folk Festival, and I have three people here who are going to shout in unison. Welcome from Bromyard Folk Festival. Oh, four. Come here, young man. Come here. You're going to come. You're going to shout. Welcome from Bromyard Folk Festival. When I say on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome from Bromyard Folk Festival.
There we are. So we're coming now. We're going very unlive, and we're going across to Mike Faculty, who is our host for tonight. Mike, over to you.
Thank you, John. Now, can I just welcome everybody all around the world, and hopefully the people at Bromyard can even hear us. If not, that's their loss. We've got a great programme tonight. We're hoping for a few more people to turn up, but you never know. But can I, just kick us right off, can I go to the Grotty Griot, Baba C, and he's got a great story for us.
So I have to give a little background. In the United States right now, we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of 2001, 9/11. My oldest son, may he rest in peace, when he was about 30-ish, he decided to go to New York to celebrate his birthday for the weekend. And while he was there, he said, "Dad, I just got this premonition that I should leave." So in the midst of his celebration, he left New York. And by his reckoning, he caught one of the last planes out of New York City back to Washington, D.C. Flash forward, September 11th. A friend of mine who was transitioning called me and said, "Turn on the television." And I usually don't like being told what to do, but something said, "Turn on the television." And I turned on the television just in time to see the first plane fly into the Twin Towers. I sat there almost speechless. And a few minutes later, the second plane went into the Twin Towers. This had a very profound effect on Americans, and I'm quite sure throughout the world. But it made me think today about my stories. I've changed my stories because why do people fight? Why do people create wars? Why do people destroy each other's culture and properties? And so the following story is a combination of why people fight stories. You see, it had not been long since the new people had come into existence. The first people were the animals, the fox, the pigeon, the giraffe, the hippo. But now there were these new people who walked on two legs, who sometimes clothed themselves, but it seems they had a favorite perchance, which was to argue. Brer Rabbit was sitting under a bush, well, actually he was in a garden, and he was helping himself to some of the vegetables in the garden when he heard two voices. "No, I shall not. Yes, you will. No, I won't. Yes, you will. You little insect, you dare defy me? Insect? Why, you animal." And he heard a sound that he discovered was one man smacking another. He hopped over and looked over a bush, and he saw two men fighting ferociously, fighting and cussing and arguing with each other. And he couldn't understand why they were fighting. And he thought out to himself, why do people fight? Brother Fox happened to be passing along, and he heard the rabbit, and he came along and said, you want to know? You want to know why people fight? Follow me, follow me, follow me. So Brother Rabbit followed Brother Fox. And they kept walking until they came to another part of the forest where there was a deer that had been captured in a snare, in a trap, and was hanging there waiting for the hunter to come and retrieve it. The fox said to the rabbit, "So you want to know? you want to know why people fight?" And Brother Rabbit said, "Yes. I want to know why people fight." Brother Fox said, watch me. Help me with this, help me with this. And they cut the carcass down. And Brother Fox said, "Help me, come on. I'm gonna show you why people fight. Come on. And so they dragged the carcass down through the forest, and they left a trail. and they dragged it down until they came to the shore of a riverbank. And when they got to the riverbank, Brother Fox said, watch this, watch this, watch this. And Brother Fox went over and he pulled up the netting that had a great big catch of fish that the fisherman was soon to come to retrieve. So he put the deer where the fish had been, and he took the fish. He said, "Come on, come on, come on! I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you why people fight." Okay, I'm following. And so they dragged the netting of fish up to where they had found the deer, and Brother Fox put the net of fish where the deer had been. After a while, the hunter came and he saw not his deer in the trap, but a whole mess of fish, a whole mess of useless fish, a big mess of useless fish. Someone has stolen my deer, and he was enraged. Meanwhile, the fisherman had gone to pull in his nets. And when he pulled in his net, instead of having a catch of fish, there was a deer. He said, what the? Someone has stolen my fish and they've left this worthless deer. And he grabbed the deer carcass and he started storming up the path. In the meantime, the hunter had grabbed the mess of fish and he was storming down the path. And one was storming up, one was storming down. And soon they met in the middle. You stole my fish, liar. You stole my deer. Liar, why would I want a useless deer? Liar, why would I want a useless mess of fish? You stole my deer. No, you stole my fish. No, and next thing you knew, they were fighting and tumbling and fighting and tumbling and fighting and tumbling. And they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought until they were just too tired to fight anymore. And they collapsed in a heap. The fox turned to the deer and said, "Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand why people fight?" And the fox said, I think so. I think so. And the deer said, "Oh,
you're muted. You're muted,
You've become muted, Baba C.
Baba C."
where in the story did I become muted?"
Just about 10
Then
seconds.
started fumbling.
Okay, so take two. So the hunter was running down the path, the fisherman was running up the path, and they were running down and running up and running down and running up, and they met in the middle. And the fisherman said, "You stole my fish." And the hunter said, "You stole my deer. Why would I want a useless deer? Why would I want a useless mess of fish?" And they kept hollering and arguing each other, and soon blows were exchanged. And they started fighting and they fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And they kept on fighting until they were too tired to fight anymore. And the fox turned to the rabbit and said, now do you understand? Now do you understand why people fight?" And the rabbit said, I think so. I think so. They don't listen. They don't talk. They just assume the worst of each other. And the fox said, "Yes, you're learning, but there's also another reason why people fight." And the rabbit said, what's that?" And the fox looked at the rabbit and he said, "Run!" And the rabbit ran. But that's a tale for another time. But that's why people fight. Asante, comments? So why do you think people fight? You can unmute. There's no wrong answer.
Fear.
Fear? Oh, yes, most definitely. Princess, why do you think people fight?
I don't know.
I love the innocence of children. I'm quite sure you do not start fights. Mike, why do you think people fight?
I think envy and jealousy of things and greed.
That's definitely so. John Rowe, why do you think people fight? but John rose on the prowl. Ali, our magnificent master of the carpet, why do you think the magic carpet, why do you think people fight?
Because crazy.
That's a great answer. Susan, did you hear the story? And welcome. Karibu.
I think
Well,
it's right because they run out of options.
Well, I'm going to ask you and Diana nonetheless, why do you think people fight? And you can catch the story in the replay, but why do you think people fight?
They
Good
run out of
question.
options.
Susan, then Diana. Susan?
Why do people fight?
Yes.
I think because they have to.
Interesting. And Diana?
I think they run out of options and also too much pride in themselves, not allowing other people to have the same pride in themselves.
And these are all very good answers. And Princess, are you saying you have to leave us in a moment?
Yes, maybe I'll leave.
Well, we're missing you already, but we hope that you'll come back and join us. Anyhow,
Are you going to let is Yazname going to tell a story before she goes?
that's what she's asking. My bad.
Yeah,
See, that's
you're
why
just
people
taking
fight.
up Yazname's time, Babasi.
This is why people fight. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's Mike's show. Mike is doing the order.
Yazname, are you going to tell us your story?
Yes.
Great, let's do it.
Hello everyone, my name is Jasnami and today I'm going to tell you the story of an innocent man, Nandish. Once in a village, there lived two men, Sundra and Nandish. Nandish had nothing in the world. He had a beautiful silver horse that was his only possession, and he was very poor, while Sundra was a very cunning merchant. He could do anything for his single wish and had so much gold coins. So the story begins that Sundra had an eye on Nandish's beautiful horse. Sundra just wanted that horse anyhow. So now a fair was organized in the village and they both went to the village while Nandish rode his beautiful horse.
Well, car's still there.
Then Sundra saw that horse and said, Nandish, please wait. So Nandish said, hello Sundra, how are you? And Sundra said, I'm thinking you are very poor. You are my friend and it's my work to help you. So may I help you in a way I can make you rich? So Nandish thought, what is the way? And Sundra said, the way is, give me your beautiful horse and in return, I will give you many gold coins because money is needed, not this horse. You're not going to use this horse somewhere, while money can be used anywhere and anyhow. So Nandish thought, no, I can't accept this deal because this is only my possession and I love it a lot. It is my starting and my ending. So he carried on walking on his horse. And then Sundra said again, I would give you 100 gold coins. Please listen to me and give me that beautiful horse. But Nandish didn't listen to him and walked on riding his horse. And finally Sundra shouted, just wait, I will give you 500 gold coins. So Nandish stopped. Everything paused for a while. Nandish gave a thought and said, 500 gold coins is a nice price. So before taking this, you will have to agree my 3 conditions. So Sundara thought in his mind, just 3 conditions for such a beautiful horse. I would do anything for this. He said, okay, I will agree to all your wishes. So Nandish started. His first wish was that first you will have to take 10 lashes from me. So he thought in his clever mind, just 10 lashes? Okay, I will do it. Second wish, you would give me the 500 gold coins first. So he said, okay, no problem. And the third wish was, while he is done with all the 2 wishes, then only he would get the horse. So Sundara again agreed. In his greed, he became foolish. So he went running to his home and got a whip and a box of 500 gold coins and said, here is a whip, take it and give me 10 lashes. And here are your coins. He handed over the coins to Nandish. And so Nandish started giving him lashes and counted 1, 2, 3, 4, and so continued. But on the 8th lash, Sundara was about to cry because he was feeling so much pain on his back. And he thought, only 2 to go. I would get that beautiful horse. I am so lucky. And there he was hit by the 9th lash. And just 1 to go, he thought. But after some time, his eyes were closed and he didn't feel any lash on his back. So he opened his eyes and saw that Nandish was running on his horse with 500 gold coins. He was shocked and shouted, Nandish, wait, you are a cheater, just wait. So Nandish said, what is the problem? I'm not a cheater. I told you, if you fulfill the first 2 conditions, then I will give you my horse. And I think I said I would give you 10 lashes, but I just gave you 9 lashes. So this horse is still mine. And Sundara said, no, this is not fair. Give me the 10th lash. I'm just waiting for it. Please give me. And Nandish said, I don't care. So he went with his horse. And then Sundara ran to the village and collected all the village people and said, see, this happened with me. This is wrong. He is a man from our village. We have to do something. But the villagers said, we think he is right. A deal is a deal. So you didn't fulfill his 2 conditions. How would he give you his horse? I think you should have acted wisely, but you didn't. So Sundara went crying to his house, sitting in the corner and waiting for the 10th lash, but that would never come to him. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's a great story. Great story, Jasmine. But what a rotter. What a rotter he was. Eh? He could have stopped after 1 lash. You didn't have to give him all 9 and then cheat him. Not cheat him. Don't you think he was a bit rotten?
Was not a bit.
No, a lot. Mr. Rowe, I understand you have a story for us to move on to. You're muted.
Right, I better tell a story. I'm trying to think of one. Yes, I've got one, and it's from way back in time when my hair was dark, my beard was ginger, and all my teeth were my own. And way back in time, there was a king, as there always is in stories. And he had one daughter, a beautiful daughter, but he had no queen. In those days, the king wanted a new queen. He just popped out and he got one. And he popped out and he got himself a new queen. Now, oh, do have a seat. And he popped out and got himself a new queen. Well, that queen had a daughter exactly the same age as the princess. And the daughter's name was Kate. And Kate and the princess became great friends. But the queen was one of those people who hated anyone to have anything better than her. And also, she was one of those parents that wanted her children to be better than everyone else. So she thought, well, everyone in the city thinks the princess is more beautiful than my daughter Kate. What can I do about it? I know. I'll go and I'll see the hen wife, like a witch, who lived on top of the hill. So she went up and said, knocked on the hen wife's door, and the hen wife said, yes, queen, what can I do? And the queen said, that everyone in the city thinks that the princess is more beautiful than my daughter Kate. Is there something you can do about it? Well, said the hen wife, tomorrow morning, send her up for 6 eggs for the king's breakfast. Make sure she has nothing to eat before she comes. Well, the next day, the princess got up and she walked through the kitchen. No, sometimes you're not hungry, but if you smell someone else's food, and there's people around here that have just demonstrated this to me, you get hungry. And there was the maid spreading jam on fresh toast. And oh, the smell of jam on fresh toast. She said, just can I have a sliver? And of course, she walked out through the rose garden. She's wiped, being princess, of course, she wiped off that bit of strawberry raspberry jam from the corner of her mouth. She went through the rose garden and into the vegetable garden where the gardener's boy was collecting peas. She walked to the top of the hill, knock, knock, knock on their wife's door. Yes, girl, what do you want? 6 eggs for the king's breakfast. Very well, go to the jar and table, unscrew the lid, lift the lid, take out the eggs. She went to the jar and table, unscrewed the lid, lifted the lid, took out the eggs. Nothing happened. The hen wife knew she'd had something to eat before she'd come. Tell the queen to make sure the pantry door is locked. Oh, the next day, the queen saw her through the kitchen and through the rose garden, make sure she'd had enough to eat. And the princess is walking through the vegetable garden where the gardener's boy was collecting peas. Now, when I was little, my mum used to give me a brown paper bag full of peas in pods, and you were supposed to break them open and put the peas in the saucepan and the pods in the colander for the to be composted. And of course, you break them open, you put 4 in your mouth, 1 in the saucepan, 4 in the mouth, 1 in the saucepan. So by the time it was time to cook the peas, there was about 5 peas to cook, and you had stomachache. And it was like that with the princess. She asked the gardener's boy for a handful of peas, and he got given the peas in pods, and breaking them open and putting them in her mouth and throwing the peas over her shoulder, the pods over her shoulder. It's okay, they're biodegradable. She walked, she came to hen wife's door, knock, knock, knock. Yes, girl, what do you want? 6 eggs for the king's breakfast. Very well, go to the jar and table, unscrew the lid, lift the lid and take out the eggs. She went to the jar and table, unscrewed the lid, lifted the lid and took out the eggs. Nothing happened. Tell the queen to make sure the pantry door is locked. Well, when the queen heard this, of course, the next day she saw her through the kitchen, through the rose garden, through the vegetable garden, to right up to the hen wife's door to make sure she had nothing to eat at all. The girl knocked on the wife's door. Yes, girl, what do you want? 6 eggs for the king's breakfast. Very well, go to the jar and table, unscrew the lid, lift the lid, take out the eggs. She went to the jar and table, unscrewed the lid, lifted the lid, and as she lifted the lid, her head jumped off of her shoulders and into the jar. A sheep's head jumped out of the jar and onto her shoulders. Ah! I've got a sheep's head on my shoulders. Well, you'd be embarrassed, wouldn't you? So she went and she put a scarf around her head and she went and hid behind a hedge. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Kate began to wonder where her best friend was. She looked here, she wasn't there. She looked there, she wasn't there. She looked behind that edge. There was the princess. Kate, I got a sheep's head on my shoulders. Well, Kate was the kind of friend you'd want in a crisis. Nothing worried her. So she said, well, we'll find a way to, we'll take a journey, and we'll find a way to break the spell. And the girls walked for a long way and further still till they came to a great castle. They knocked on the door of the castle, and it was opened, and it creaked, it squeaked open, obviously. And it was opened by an old servant. Yes, girl? Can I do something? My sister is very ill, said Kate. Have you somewhere where we can stay tonight? Well, as it happens, upstairs is an ill prince. If you look after him for the night, you can stay the night. Thank you very much, said Kate. Well, there was the princess asleep one side, there was the prince asleep with the other. Princess with a sheep's head on, Kate in the middle, making up the fire. At midnight, the prince got up, walked round the room. Kate followed down the stairs. Kate followed into the stable. Kate followed. The prince got on a horse. Kate got on behind him. They rode out through the forest. Kate is taking hazelnuts from this tree and hazelnuts from that tree and putting them in her apron. They rode till they came to the green hill. And the prince shouted, open up, for it is a prince and his horse. And the green hill opened up. They rode inside. And Kate, realizing she's in the land of fairies, hides in the shadows. And two fairies came by and heard them talk. Two dancers came by, she heard them talking. If only Kate knew, if she could get the stick off the baby and touch the prince on the shoulder, on the head 2 times with it, the prince would touch the princess on the head 2 times with it, the princess would have her own head back. Well, you know what happens if you take anything off a baby, it cries. So she reached into her hand, into her apron, she pulled out some hazelnuts, she rolled them across the floor. The baby let go of the stick, went after the hazelnuts. Kate grabbed the stick, put it in her apron. When it's time to go, they rode back through the forest. Horses put back in the stable. They go back up the stairs. The prince gets back into bed. Kate gets the stick and touches her sister on the head 2 times with it. And would you believe it? Her sister had her own head back. Well, the next day, the king of that castle came up. And he came up with the court doctor, and that court doctor was so miserable, he shouldn't have been allowed to treat children. He said, well, how's my boy today? Said the king. Well, he's no better, said the doctor. Well, at least he's not any worse. And thank you very much for looking after him. What's your name? Well, at that moment, Kate happened to have a mouthful of hazelnuts. Kate, Your Majesty, she said, spraying nuts across the whole room. Kate, cracker nuts, more like it, said the doctor. That's as maybe, said the king, but I'm very grateful. Will you look after me, boy, one more night? And of course, the girls agreed. That night, midnight, the princess was asleep one side, her own head on her shoulders this time. And the prince was asleep the other. When the prince got up and he walked around the room. Kate followed. Down the stairs, Kate followed. Into the stable, Kate followed. The prince got on a horse. Kate got on behind him. They rode through the forest. They taking hazelnuts from this tree and hazelnuts from that tree and putting them in their apron. And they ride till they came to the green hill. And the prince had open up, for his prince and his horse. And the green hill opened. They rode inside, and 2 dancers came by. And Kate heard them talking. If only Kate knew if she could get the dead bird off the baby that the baby is playing with. It's okay, it's quite fresh. It's just fallen down from the rafters. She can get the dead bird off the baby that the baby's playing with in the corner and get the prince to have 3 mouthfuls of it, the prince will be totally cured. Well, it's one thing getting a stick, but a dead bird, something else, much more fun. So, and it took 3 handfuls of nuts rolled across the floor before the baby let go of the bird. Once it let go, Kate got the bird, put it in her apron. They rode back through the forest. Horse is put back in the stable. They go back up the stairs. Prince gets back into bed, seems to go to sleep. Kate got the bird, took the feathers off it, started cooking it on the fire. Well, the smell of cooking went under the prince's nose. And some people don't have to be awake to be hungry. And the prince's hand went out and he broke off 1 piece and put it in her hand. Broke up a 2nd piece. Broke up in the 3rd. Forget this. She took the whole bird, put the whole bird in the prince's hand. He put the whole bird in his mouth. He spat the bones out onto the floor. And of course, by this time he'd had his 3 mouthfuls and he's totally cured, and he's bouncing off the bed and he's bouncing off the ceiling and he's bouncing off the 4 walls. And the old king came running up to see what all the noise was about. He was so pleased to see his son was cured. He offered Kate his son's hand in marriage. He offered the princess his son's younger brother hand in marriage. And there was a great wedding and a great deal to eat and even more to drink. And of course, had you been there, each and every one of you would have been invited. Well, then story ends.
Great.
And I have
story.
my little live audience here as well. I'll just show you my live audience. There are my live audience. There you go.
Did they enjoy it too? I hope so.
Yes, they
We
were
did.
smiles and they were smiling and clapping, so that's a good sign.
Jolly good.
And they'll all collect their fivers later when I see them in about 3 years' time.
Well, thank you, John. That was lovely. Diana, you've got a story for us.
Hi, you can hear me okay. I've got a story for you, yes. It's about a friend of mine. You know, I sometimes wish I was like him because, well, he's very famous. He's famous the world over. And being famous comes with quite a lot of responsibility and quite a lot of pressure, because people are always trying to put you in a box and say that you believe this or that, or they think that when you did something, you did it for this reason or that reason, when probably you did it for a completely different reason altogether. But never mind. What I really like about my friend is he takes it all in his stride. He doesn't let it get him down. And I sometimes wish I was like him, but I'm not. Well, my friend is so clever. You'll never guess what he's done. He's done so many wonderful things. And he's got the copyright for, guess what? Guess what? The World Wide Web. So now you know who it is, don't you, Baba? You know who it is. It's Anansi the spider. He is so smart. He's so famous. And he's so cool. He just lets things roll off. He doesn't worry about things too much. Well, he was in the jungle this day and he decided he'd go for a walk. So he went for a walk, and who should he meet but the chief of the village, Nana. And Nana said to him, "How are you, Anansi?" And Anansi said, "Well, I'm great. It's a beautiful day." And then, well, I don't know if you know Anansi. I mean, I know Anansi, and any chance that he gets, he will tell you how wonderful he is and how great he is at this and great he is at that and how he can climb the tallest tree and swim the widest ocean. And he's as strong as an elephant or even more. And he'll also tell you about the day that he rode Tiger. Now, when he said that to the chief couldn't believe it. "You rode Tiger? Do you really mean that?" "Well, of course I do. I just said so." Well, the chief was a bit skeptical. I mean, he didn't really know what to make of it. Anansi was a trickster after all. But surely if he said he'd done something like that, surely it should really have happened. But anyway, the chief didn't have all day to stand and talk to Anansi. He went off walking. And where would he go? He would go and find out the truth about this. He would go and seek out Tiger. Tiger! So he went and looked for Tiger, and he found him shading himself under a tree. And so he said, "Well, isn't it a great day? And you know what? I just bumped into Anansi. And do you know what Anansi said?" And Tiger said, No, what did he say?" "Well, you'll never guess. He said that he had ridden on your back with a saddle holding on to a bridle. Is that true?" "Of course it's not true. Of course it's not true. That Anansi, I am so annoyed with him. He does all the annoying things in all the world. He's always being a trickster. He's always saying things. I am Tiger. I have a reputation. I have such a beautiful body and 4 strong legs and whiskers. I'm so elegant. How dare he? How dare he get at me? That is not true. And what I will do is I will go and I will get him and I will bring him back here and he will apologize and tell the truth, because Tiger did not have Anansi on his back with a saddle and a bridle. Okay, thought the chief. So what you're saying is it's not true. And of course, Tiger didn't even wait. He started on his way, padding along on a nice hot day in the jungle to find Anansi. And where would Anansi be? Well, he knew one thing about Anansi. Anansi was lazy. At least lazy with physical things, not so much with thinking or thinking of tricks, but certainly with physical things. So there he was by the river, and he had a branch of leaves, and he was waving them to fan himself and cool himself down. And Tiger said, "Ah, hello, Anansi. I've just come from the chief, and the chief tells me that you said you rode me with a saddle and a bridle. And we both know that's not true. Why would you do that? Why?" Well, Anansi didn't say too much. He just let Tiger vent his feelings. And Tiger said, "Now you will come with me. You will come with me, and we will go and see the chief. We will go and see the chief, and you will admit the lies, and you will apologize. Do you understand?" Well, Anansi just said, "Well, actually, I'm very weak today." And he put the branch with the leaves in a stake like a stake in the ground, so it had sheltered him from the sun, because he had not enough strength to keep waving it. And he said, "I'm so weak. All 8 legs, they're just, ugh. And I just kind of go, oh, as soon as I try. I'm just like a jelly today. I honestly can't come with you and take back what I said." And then there was silence. And Anansi just let the silence lie. And Tiger had been trying to think of a way around this. All he could think of was his rage, because Tiger was so proud of himself. And he was so concerned about his reputation and what people thought. And if they thought him brave, or if they thought him truthful, or if they thought him this or that. But he couldn't get this fixation about taking Anansi back to refute the lies out of his head. That was the only way he could see out of it all. And Tiger had a reputation as a truthful creature, so surely they would believe him. As for Anansi, well. But anyway, the silence was broken when Anansi said, "Well, there is actually one way that I could come with you back to see the chief. But you won't hear of it. I know you won't. You won't even countenance it. You won't. I know you won't. And that's the end of that." And Tiger said, "But wait a minute. I'm in charge of me. I know what I think. Why don't you tell me?" "Oh, but I couldn't," said Anansi. "I couldn't possibly tell you, because I know right now you just wouldn't go for it." Well, this just intrigued Tiger more. So we had to find out. And in the end, Anansi said, "Well, I could come with you if I could go on your back, but my legs are very weak, so I need something to support them." And Tiger let this sink in. And he thought, yeah. He was quite blinded by his annoyance at Anansi. He was quite blinded by this business of having to put Anansi right. But he went off and found a saddle And then Anansi said, but your fur, now the thing is about Tiger's fur, he is so proud of it. He likes it all lying the right way so that the stripes shine out really nice and clearly. And he doesn't like it all roughed. And he likes his whiskers just so he's very careful about his appearance. So when Anansi said about he didn't have the strength to hold on to the fur, that he needed something else, then Tiger went off and got it. And then Anansi climbed on the saddle and held onto the bridle. And they were rushing through the jungle, and who should come out of the hut but the chief? And the chief saw Anansi riding on the saddle, holding on to the bridle of a tiger. And there it is, true as anything.
Oh, great Anansi story there, Diana.
Yeah. I do like Anansi. I think Baba's converted me now. He's really a Anansi fan. And
I love your Anansi stories. I love your renditions. You are over the moon. Yes.
Thank you. I've got a little 5-year-old grandson, and he likes playing games like being Anansi and thinking up tricks for people. And that really keeps me going as well.
And one of the enduring things is how universal Anansi has become, because there are no tigers in Africa, not native to Africa. And I love hearing stories with tigers and other animals that are not native to the African continent. So this is great. Thank you. Asante sana, vizuri sana. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
We're quite early, so I guess I'd better tell a story too. Let me drop off all my bits. I don't know if you noticed, Diana, I had a little tiger wandering across.
Yeah, I was. What did you have that was that red thing?
It's a spider.
Spider, right. I thought that I was trying not to pay too much attention in case I lost my way.
Sorry, that's probably not the right thing to do, particularly as host. Uh-oh. Let me tell a story then to try and make up for it. A long, long time ago, back at the beginning, Sun and Moon were the greatest of friends, and they travelled the sky together always. In fact, they were such good friends, they wound up living as husband and wife. And they had a child, and their child was a hare. And Sun said to their child, the hare, I will give you a coat of gold and silver, and I will give you the name Celestial Hare. And the Moon said to his daughter, I will give you the gift of eternal life. You can spend forever here in the heavens with us. He said, and I will give you the gift that wherever you put your paw, you will create a star. And they lived together for many, many years. If you go out on a clear night, you can see how long they lived together, see how many stars there are. And Celestial Hare was growing up. And Sun and Moon were saying to each other, we must sort something out for her. We must find her a suitable husband. And of course that wasn't easy because they were Sun and Moon. But Celestial Hare didn't know what was going on, and she was just happy, so happy growing up with her mum and dad, Sun and Moon. And she sang her song. She sang her song of joy. And her parents hearing it were really happy too. They weren't the only ones who heard it. For far below, Earth heard Celestial Hare's song. And it touched his heart, and he looked up, and he saw her, and he sang back his song of longing and love. And Celestial Hare, hearing his song, looked down and saw him, and they fell in love. It was like love at first sight. It was a love match. And Celestial Hare went to Sun and Moon and said, I've found the person I'm in love with. And they said, what do you mean? You can't have. We haven't even decided who it should be yet. She said, no. I've fallen in love with Earth, and he loves me back. We're going to be husband and wife. And Sun said, no, that won't do. And Moon said, no. He's just a dull clod. He doesn't shine at all. He's not good enough. And she said, well, I'm sorry, but I love him. And Sun said, you will wait until we find you someone suitable, or I will take back your gifts. And she said, but I love him. Sun said, very well. You are no longer celestial hair. You're just plain hair. And I will take away your coat of gold and silver. You can just have a plain coat. And the moon sort of looked at the sun and thought, oh no, okay, isn't it? I'm going to take away your eternal life as well. And you will no longer create stars with your paws. And Celestial Hair was so hurt. This was her loving parents. They'd always shown her love and respected her. And now suddenly they've turned on her just because she'd fallen in love with someone. And she, well, if that's what you must do, you must, because I am in love with Earth, and I shall go and I shall live with Earth. And Hair left the sky and came to live with Earth as husband and wife, and to have children. They had many, many children. And eventually Moon, because you know what dads are like with their little girls, Moon came down to Earth to visit and said, look, I can't undo what we've done, but what I can do, I can't give you back eternal life, but I will give you a very, very long life. And wherever you put your paw, you won't create a star, you will create a daisy or a dandelion. And you can look around the earth and you'll see what a long life he gave her, because there are daisies and dandelions everywhere. And she was so pleased, and he was so pleased, that they hugged her so tightly. So at a full moon, if you look up, you can see the mark of the hair on him. And of course, when Sun saw this mark, she was so cross. She was absolutely incandescent. And she told him to go away. She wanted nothing to do with him. And ever since that day, you don't see them together like they used to be. You'll sometimes see Moon off in the distance, just wondering if she might have forgiven him yet. She hasn't. Thank you.
Yabo, well done. Yes.
Cheers. We're still a bit early. Has anyone got another story they'd like to tell? Or anyone who hasn't told changed their mind?
Actually, we're Mike.
Yeah.
It's all right. We've had 3/4 an hour, so it's quite a respectful length program.
Okay.
So, and we thank everybody.
Right. Can I do the announcements then? Yeah.
Please do.
Okay. Now then, on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, there will be the storytelling by our young tellers, 18 and under. To my mind, it's the best night of the week. They're so wonderful and such great stories. So let's do that. And next Friday, guess who's telling the stories? Because I don't know, but it's the children's stories at 6 o'clock on Friday.
And it's Donald Nelson.
Is it Donald?
From Glasgow.
Yeah, Glaswegian. Oh, Ouija, I think. Is that right? So we've got a great week coming. Thank you for coming tonight. I'm sorry there were so few of us, but at least apart from me, it was all great people and great stories.
Yours was great, Mike. Don't put yourself down.
I second that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, everyone was great tonight.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Ali, thank you for driving our magic carpet once more. And for noticing that I was waving my phone around too much and cutting off my video. That was very sad. I was very relieved when I saw that. Trying to do two things at once, work at a festival and work at two festivals, the World Storytelling Cafe Festival and this. So thank you. I think next Sunday, I've got to look it up. I'm not sure if it's not a Rock the Casbah, but I've got to check with Gary to see if it is.
In which case, we'll chance for us to give some money to support next year's festival
in Marrakesh. 12th, anyone who's listening, 12th 12th to 20th of February. Be in Marrakesh. But the weather is wonderful.
Be here.
The hospitality is fantastic. The stories are amazing, and actually, you know, and Ali said it didn't matter how many thousands of people turn up, he's going to look after us all individually. Isn't that true, Ali? Nice one. Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, Mike, for hosting tonight. You were an amazing host,
That was
and
magnificent.
magnificent. And from Bromyard Folk Festival, up on the in the Mendips or somewhere. So I'm west. I'm near the Welsh border somewhere between Birmingham and the Welsh border. And I never know where I am. I'm somewhere. So a good night, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you.
Take care,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. That was lovely. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Until the next time, to be continued.
Thank you. That was great.
It was, thank you, Diana, for your wonderful Anansi story. Like I said before, I love your twist on them. And do you mind if I borrow that one?
No, not at all.
All
Borrow,
right,
you mean
thank
steal.
No, I borrow. I
No,
just don't return it.
Great
I
artist
learned a
steal.
lot from just listening to you, Baba. So that's only fair that you take what you get from me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mike, you actually did do a great job. So there's no debate. You did a great job. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Baba,
And
so
Ali, as always. Yes, sir.
I wanted to just ask you something. I sent you a question saying, do you know that literacy story, the literacy requirement? Because it came up because of the newspaper earlier. It reminded me. Do you know that one?
I don't think so.
You'll like it, I think. There's a Negro in the South back when they had just started letting everyone have a vote officially. And he went along to the polling station and said, I'm here to vote. And they said, well, are you registered? He said, yes, I'm registered. There's a literacy test. And they gave him the Bombay Times written in Hindi and said, what does this say? What's the headline? And he said, well, it looks to me like the headline is, there ain't no black men voting today.
Actually, I've heard that story, but on a different name. But yes, I like that story.
Yeah.
Yes. And my father used to tell a tale slightly related to that. You know, I'm at least a third generation storyteller. But yes, they would, you know, it would be things like they would have a test and they would test the white folk too. And they give them words like cat, dog, frog. And then they would look at and I forgot the word, so I have to use one that's contemporary. And they look at the Negro and they give him a word and they say, spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know, and in some of the stories he spells it, some of the stories he doesn't. But yes, I do know those stories. That's great. Thank you, sir. You know, you sparked I have to go back and open my treasure chest.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I suspect we should all clear off and let Ali get on with his work instead of.
Oh, yes, Ali, thank you. I just want you to know,
Thank you, Ali.
you work so quietly in the background. We really appreciate all that you do, even if we don't understand how you do it. All right, good folk, Diana, Dynamic Diana, Magnificent Mike, Awesome Ali, and Modest Baba
Brilliant,
C.
Baba.
Thank you. Until the next time, to be continued.
Okay.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you so much.